Hi, we wanted to put a short video together running over one of the projects that we've entered for the Society of Garden Designers Awards for 2023. And it's a garden that is a collaboration between Creative Gardens and Driveways and Matt Nicol Garden Design. And it goes back to 2019 when the project first arrived on my desk. And the client approached me to come up with a new design for their rear garden and front garden. Working through the design process and the design brief, we eventually landed with a master plan layout which encompasses all of the requirements that the client wanted really for the project and the new garden layout. And really the brief centered around the fact that the client wanted to become more involved in the garden, and both from a sort of a hobby point of view, but also from a productive point of view, growing cut flowers and a range of vegetables in the garden, through to having the garden as an entertaining space for different times of the day. And obviously it's a family garden, so there's play, football, etc. that goes on in the garden on a daily basis. The owners also have pets, so that had to be taken into consideration. And there was quite a bit of existing structure within the garden, which had to be considered quite carefully in terms of what was to remain, what could be reused on site, particularly with regard to the planting material that was on site. And there were a number of existing trees which had to be factored into the overall design. So the layout basically works that the area closest to the house here gets sun for the vast majority of the day, and really this was going to be the space where we were going to create a lot of visual interest, which was immediately apparent from all of the windows and doors across the back of the house. And what we wanted to create was something that was relatively formal and structured, but at the same time had a loose planting arrangement within it. And when we come onto the photos later on, hopefully you'll see how that has transpired. The other thing that we wanted to do was to try and create a sense of distinction between the main sort of entertaining dining space here and the productive garden, which in the depths of winter probably isn't going to be looking very good. So we wanted to create a little bit of distinction between those areas. This was achieved by using some structural hedging which runs through various places in the garden, which picks up and references the existing beech hedge that runs along the back of the house. Although this is probably 10 to 12 feet tall, these structural hedges within the garden are kept at a lower level so that the views aren't completely blocked. So they're kept at about 4'6". We've also brought a layer of planting close to the house here, which helps to just frame the house, but functionally it also enables us to create some level access out from the property, as the planting borders are lower and don't bridge the damp course. The paving is at a slightly higher level, and when we have a look at the site section, you'll see that we've created this sort of flush access out here without really bridging the damp course at all, which has been quite a nice solution. The area here has been framed with a pergola system, and originally we talked about doing that using conventional sort of timber, but as the design process went through and we were looking at palettes of materials, the Core-10 steel was very appealing, and so we looked at a Core-10 steel solution for the pergola, and that rolled out into other elements in the design, where we looked at raised planters using Core-10 and some steel edging for the gravel paths, and we eventually also commissioned a Core-10 water feature to be running, which was a simple water chute that tied in with the box hedging detailing that was around the property, which gives a lot of structure, a lot of winter interest and structure. There's some key focal points in the design. So there's a small shady seating area for a hot sunny day, and that view is framed through to a existing feature shrub on the far side of the garden. And similarly, we've created another sort of focal point at the top here, which as you look down the patio through here, you pick up that reference up at the top there. As I say, there's quite a lot of existing planting that's demarked with these sort of existing tree logos, and then we also have introduced quite a number of other new trees, blossom interest, prunus, which gives them some spring interest, as these are also underplanted with wildflower meadow and bulb planting. So there's quite a lot going on in the scheme, as well as the aesthetic side of things. There's a lot of practicality with the project. Drainage was a massive issue on this site because it's a very heavy clay site. So we mitigated issues with drainage on the new lawn by creating drainage layers, and all of the tree pits are individually connected to a drainage system and silt traps to ensure that the new planting pits didn't flood. So the below ground work was as complicated almost as what we did above ground. There's a simple sectional detail of looking at how the new fencing will work, looking at the relationship between the pergola and the paving, the existing fence heights, some of the existing trees and the boundaries, and so on. It's really important to do a site section when you're looking at how the new design will impact the existing ground. And on such a large domestic garden, you want to be careful about the amount of material coming in and the amount of material coming out of the site, as obviously that can have a huge impact on cost. So site sections there, or one of, helps to obviously understand how the site's working. Structural detailing, in making sure that the design intent for the different, and this is one of the pergolas, for the different elements of the design is thoroughly thought through. There's some little uplighters that sit within the steelwork of these pergola structures, and these are all designed to fit with the paving units, so that we've got a really tight arrangement between the vertical elements of the design and what's on the ground plane. And obviously we need to take into account the falls on the paving and the depth of planting border that we want around the various different elements of the design as well. Here are some of the finished photographs, and you can see the water feature nicely nestled in amongst the box hedging, the structural beech hedge there at the back of this very sort of full planting bed, lots of sort of grasses and full colourful blocks of interesting planting going on there. Again, the water feature just gently trickling in the background, not too obtrusive in its noise. And there's a small Cornus controversa variegata here, which was actually moved from another part of the garden and rescued as part of the scheme. And you can see it again in this image here. And that has subsequently begun to thrive within that border and is a really striking tree within the scheme. Some more pictures of that sort of loose planting. It's quite a full looking scheme, but there's an element of sort of see-through, with the stiper and some of the lower planting to the side, so you get views across and through the planting to other areas. Lots of structural elements in here, so quite crisp, and these elements also relate structurally in size to the paving units and so on. Different parts of the garden get different amounts of sun, so we've got a sort of a border here that's designed more for a sort of a shady arrangement with the gravel paths running through and the little focal bench. And again, we've got these changes in level, so the lawn runs through, the falls and on the paving and the lawns all run through. You have steps down, but this provides the level access to the house, whereas the borders by the house are at the lower level. And then there's the productive garden running through there with the Corten raised beds with the irrigation in them, the new greenhouse that's being put in, and you can just see the wisteria coming across on the top of that new pergola arrangement. And then finally, the lawn here, summer lawn. Obviously, mentioned that the owners have pets, and this is a reality of having pets and dogs and so on lawns. Is you do get a little bit of spotting, but the planting's doing really well, and the wildflower meadows well and truly established and blending through into the planting at the top there, and that top seating area gets a fantastic amount of late afternoon sun, and it's a great place to go and sit at the end of the day. So that's it for the project. There's some really nice images there just to finish on, and I hope you've enjoyed listening to sort of how the design has come together and what the design's all about. Thanks very much.